So today's 5-minute talk is on the topic of masts. High masts for large area illumination. Now I thought it'd be interesting because if you don't constantly deal with masts, it's a topic you won't know much about. So here's hopefully a short overview of what you need to know. Masts are basically defined as either static or raise and lower. Now raise and lower means that you can have the crown, which holds all the lighting, come down to the bottoms for maintenance and cleaning operations. Now one way to do that is through a raise and lower system that is base hinged. What does that mean? That means that the base is unlocked and the whole mast comes slowly down with the aid of a hydraulic ram. Now that's great in many ways because there are no moving parts and no maintenance is required on the mast, but you do have to think about the ram itself and how you have to maintain the hydraulics of that and keep that well maintained too. Also consider that when you are dropping this mast, you need a lot of space. The whole length of the mast, which could be 25, 30, up to 50 meters. So you need a clear space to drop it. Quite good on ports because you can drop it between container stacks. Probably not able to do that in an airport because you won't have enough space on a busy apron to drop the mast. The other type of the mast is one which has a winch system. So the whole thing comes down and there's a winch inside the mast. And that again splits into two types. Type 1 is where you have an external rail on the outside and the crown basically comes down the rail and allows you access to that. That typically is what we at Midstream prefer. Another option is to have a 3-wire rope, so the ropes are inside the shaft and there's a double drum winch, and that uses the rope system to bring the masts down. The problem with that we find is that the ropes can be tangled and needs quite a lot of specialist servicing. But those are really the 3 different types of a raise and lower system: base hinged, 3-wire rope, and an external guide rail system. When it comes to static masts, that's the other alternative. That means you cannot lower the mast in any way, so you have to be able to get up to the top for any kind of maintenance or servicing. So one option is to have a ladder and a cage and a platform. So that means the mast itself will have a ladder system, resting platforms, and the top platform where you will be able to access the lights from the back to do any kind of maintenance operations. Now that's good if you are, for example, a stadium and you have a lot of lights that need regular cleaning, regular re-aiming, so you need to have constant access. And because you could be very high up and hold a large number of lights, maybe 30, 40, 50 pieces, that's probably the right solution. The other option is to have completely static mast with no ladder, and the only way to get to that could be with a cherry picker or a high access equipment. So when would you want to employ that? Well, for example, if you are a logistics center or even a small airport which has 20 or 30 high masts, do you need to invest into quite an expensive raise and lower system? If you don't want to, you could just buy a high access machine, a platform that gets you the 20 meters or 25 meters that you need to do your maintenance. So the options really are ladders, and typically that's for very large, 3 or 4 masts, for example, or 5 masts for a stadium, or buy your own high access equipment or rent, or simply have a static system which doesn't come down, and therefore you need to potentially bring in a contractor once a year to do maintenance. But one thing I would say is when you invest into an LED system, it's actually an expensive investment. It's a big investment, and these systems are electronics, so you need to maintain them. So don't forget, regular maintenance really extends the lifetime of your LED system. And that's it for today. So if you have any more questions, please email or contact us, and we'll be happy to explain in more detail everything you need to know. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.